Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here. This time reviewing on issue 3 of Batman 89. Now, as you know, this comic is meant to be the third issue to Batman 89, which is meant to continue after the events of Batman and Batman Returns. And the cover has Barbara Gordon going through the evidence with numerous Bat stuff. And we see how at first everything looks hopeless until Harvey Dent manages to rescue Drake. Everyone says, "He's got Drake! That's the bravest son of a... man's a hero!" And of course, we see how at first everything seems alright. We see how Harvey Dent is worshipped as a hero, and even eventually the polls kind of numbering in, showing them to be in his favour. And at first we see how Harvey Dent's now kind of governor now, and Barbara's now commissioner, and even thinking and finding out who Batman is, and this is the first hint that there's something strange going on. So of course we see Harvey Dent seeing his old friend Jerome, or Mr. Otis, who says, "So, you're gonna be a bum?" "Otis, where do you come from?" "Mr. Otis to you, young man. You want respect, you show respect. Where's Barbara?" And of course, we find out what really happens. That Harvey Dent's face had been badly burnt, and Bruce Wayne and Drake managed to get him out safely. But of course, as soon as the explosion happens, and as soon as Harvey Dent tries to get up, it's the first hint of his Two-Face persona. And we see him saying, "I'm fine now. Thank you. Hard to breathe. Where are we? Good Lord. Barbara, I have to make a speech." And of course, we see how everyone's now shocked and horrified that Harvey Dent has now become Two-Face. And I think this comic actually does it a bit more justice, as Harvey's a bit more of an approval seeker, and this kind of comes the repercussion to his actions. So of course that they managed to get him to the hospital and that, and even Bruce Wayne and Drake know that he's probably not going to make it. And of course, Bob has let them news that he might be able to pull through. And of course, we see how people try and interview Bruce Wayne, calling him a hero. And we see how Harvey Bullock wants to ask him questions, and even mention with Drake that there have been other witnesses found at the dumpster, which we see basically Bruce Wayne seeing Catwoman, and we see how people want to interview Bruce Wayne, and Alfred suggesting to use the other scenic route. And of course, we see how Drake is now sleeping in the van. We see how Otis and the other community give him donations, and you can tell Drake does feel bad and knows he's going to try and set things right. And we see how Bruce Wayne wakes up with the cat that Selina gave Bruce Wayne at the end of Batman Returns. And of course, he sees that his face is on the paper now, and that there's still people wanting to interview him. And we see Bruce Wayne saying, "What a nightmare. I can't even leave the... Mr. Drake Winston called. You said you would know why. Wait, you said 68. That's 62. And of course, we see how Alfred asks if Selina wants her cat back, but saying that the cat's not in any trouble. Of course, we see how the arsonists are let off bail and given a slap on the wrist. And we see how everyone is rattled up, and this is going to come with dangerous repercussions. So of course, we see how Bruce Wayne is talking with a doctor about reconstructive surgery for Harvey Dent, and Bruce Wayne's plan to fly him on a private jet to Switzerland, and even says to Barbara that Harvey needs the best of help, and knowing that they need to bring him back before anything crazy happens. So of course, we see how Harvey Dent wakes up and meets a Harvey Dent from a timeline where he became a hero. And we see Harvey saying, "Yeah, something about a cat. in a box. What a load of crap. Well, here's the wild part. It's all true. Let me take you on a little tour. And of course, we see how one outcome had him dying instead of his mum, him getting arrested, and him being the hero. And of course, Harvey's other self motivates him to take action. And we see basically Harvey Dent not pleased that Bruce got the respect he wanted. And of course, this is where he becomes Two-Face. And him saying, "See, she loves me. That turned out nicely. The universe works for me." And this is Harvey Dent wanting to make things his way without accepting his own screw-ups. Of course, we see how Bruce Wayne ends up meeting Catwoman in his Batman costume and trying to catch her. Of course, they end up meeting each other and ended up falling in love again, and back to the place where she basically stabbed Batman in the ribs. And of course, she points out she's been seeing a psychiatrist all about her experience, and Bruce Wayne says, "Wait a minute, what, your shrink? You talk about me with your shrink?" But she mainly says that the shrink mainly thinks she's crazy, and you can kind of tell Bruce Wayne figures it's Harley Quinzel, and they start to see that the city's now on fire, as people are now protesting, and now everything's gotten out of control. And of course, we see Harvey Dent saying, "So of Gotham. To hell with it." And yeah, this is the story. So I think issue 3 does work, as it kind of shows repercussion to Harvey Dent's actions for trying to play superhero. And I think sometimes trying to play superhero can be a dangerous thing. And I think at least Batman 89 does Harvey Dent justice, and actually shows you what he would have looked like had Tim Burton still been the director. So I think this issue definitely deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.